Good evening, everyone out there in the big, wide world of the internet. You're coming in, and tonight you're checking out for the 12th online time, Backroom Broadsides. And I believe this is the 12th time we've done this online. We've been doing them at the Fox and Crow in Jersey City for several years now, actually. But when COVID came in, we went went online, and here we are. And tonight we've got a really cool version for you. We have Jeffrey Cyphers, right? And Veet Bakaitis. We're going to start with Jeffrey, and then we're going to move over to Veet. And so what can I say about Jeffrey Wright? A dozen books, been on the scene for a long time. And he writes these wild lines. You know, you can be reading his poetry, and if you read with some flexibility, and he demands that, I think, you could turn every big word, every noun that has kind of flesh on it, every image, you go into it, and it's like a room with 5 doors, like in Monty Hall is there saying, what's it going to be? Number 1, number 2, number 3. There's the lady, there's the tiger, all that stuff. And there's also lines like Psyche ambushing the Star Parade. Think of that. Psyche ambushing the Star Parade. It's just magical words. And without any further ado, I want to give you Jeffrey Cyphers Wright. Go for it.
James, that's really wonderful, man. Thank you. That was so sweet. What a great introduction, man. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the friendship too. And I appreciate all the work Jocelyn's doing behind the scenes here. And I'm very honored also to be reading with my friend, Veet Bakaitis, who I published in 76 in hard press, maybe 77, my first publishing thing. So hats off, Veet. I want to start with this little sonnet called Go Big or Go Home. And it's just a line that one of the Republicans had about the first impeachment. Like, well, that's nothing, you know? It's like you need to go big or go home. And I thought that's such a funny, I've heard that thing before. Anyway, excuse me. Would you rather be a mammoth or a mastodon? Let me think for a minute. Let me be your mandate. Let letters fly in pairs around the spires of Paris. Let my lips 2 pilgrims blush, deciphering silence. The South shall rise again. Let the leaders stonewall. Let black sleep tuck night in. Let life consume us, a friendly fire licking the ceiling, growing hungrier by the second. Les fleurs de nuit. Dream I'm swimming with Ron and smoking a J in the East River. Dream I take too many silly pills. I've lost my marbles, says Jennifer. Dream I get to the airport on time for a change, but can't return the car. Dream I back out of a bank robbery. Dream I'm kidnapped by Circe's twin. Dream you are a ladybug and I am Calbane. Onyx spots on scarlet wings, you search my upturned face. We share an accident of grace. Learn by doing, lead by dreaming, untie knots of wind by breathing. Oh, come on, here we go. Let's see. Aha, the author's progress. So a list of films I made. The author's progress. The cuckoo's testimony, the cobbler's soul, the hatmaker's headache, the bell's endless toil, the witness's falsies, the trunk full of peanuts, the secretary of amnesia, the crabby fiddler, Salt's white murmur, Charlotte's webinar, turning into Saturn, roasted blue inside, You are the one I find, lost in a desert of light. The impossible page. She's peeved. My wee granddaughter's so transparent. Jealousy registers as saucer eyes hogging the camera, blocking out her little sister. Her petulance at not getting a treat is classic, knocking over the tower. The page, too, can be a terror, holding its breath, capricious, demanding, not sharing toys. I've seen you like that before, disguised as a star. Ah, Venus, take me away. Show me where to aim. Courage, let me wear. Let's go to the pier and stare down time. The sun's not the only thing burning. Tilt. TV anchors gab about binge watching, riots, and tattoos. The machine has a boo-boo. We are in some deep doo-doo. Blue jays peck red berries, 91 degrees, and I am a sap. Jupiter's ma pushes old news. It's more fun with someone. Okay, steeplechaser, let's see your stuff. Here's a hot ticket for the tingling sister circus. It's time to give the frog a kiss. On Mercy's wings we arrive, moving in where silence sings. Burning rings. 7 grackles tickle a hickory. August unties its clown shoes. On the 13th of Evermore, in the year of nothing less, I hold you to a blinding mirror, and you light me like a fuse. Smell of old oaks in the park, the ache of fading panache. Shut up and keep bailing, said the old salt to his mate. You still look great in the future we're creating. Embers of a carousel, we are burning rings forged by stars. Echo's Chamber. And this has a little epigraph here. Mutual love is the law of human life. Leo Tolstoy. Echo's Chamber. Did I say Leo Tolstoy? Well, on that note, I'll take a quiet little. Echo's Chamber. A fat moon trundles across the sky, a Mack truck with one headlight. I sleep alone in night's salon, pining like a nut. The only thing better than one guitar is 2 guitars. Your sunglasses reflecting my eyes in July's jonquiled haze. Resistance is futile. Whatever you say, the DJ is my best friend. Gulls laugh at love's slaughter. I hear you rule with an iron caress. My ears blaze in your absence. Blazing star. This also has the epigraph. Force without mind falls from its weight. Mining for meaning amid awful loss, we bid the humble bumblebee adieu. Finding purpose in service, I work and live to give you a tumble. We wake in this season of sleep, swept forward toward a precipice. America festooned in purple and black, flags stick stubbornly at half-mast. Mad money incinerates our odds, methane flares in the burn-off stacks. Angel wranglers, use me for bait. It's never too late to placate the gods. Walk with me backwards into the fog and rescue a tomorrow trapped by fate. Here for you. October lights a lantern in the aspens under your window. The river unties night's black ribbon and lays back, eager to continue swapping whoppers. After the yawning contest, we'll put the final touch on our opera bouffe and bask in each other's wilderness, knocking on the lockdown's door. My puppets file for unemployment and burn their orders from Moscow Mitch. Lambaste the bastards. Okay, who ordered the turkey cobbler? I dream I drive an empty limousine. There's a place here for you to fill in. Nonsense hotline. Languishing in the department of anguish, Tuesday spins, tipsy on its tilted axis. Trump stumps in battleground states. Blessed are the hungry, for they feed truth. Black beans with epazote and beet greens. Dream I cut into the buffet line. Free Leonard Peltier Day, Squatters' Rights Day, spoiler alert versus trigger warning, shelf life of a burning heart. Alphabet soup on afternoon's mustache. Trap your inner sun, Earthlings. Fog wraps silver rags around time's neck, the rest of us surging to bum rush the clock. The quick key. Ever-shrinking path to glory's kennel. Sunset's corsage smudges the Hudson. Whoops, I'm sorry, it jumped there. Here we go. Cormorants command black pilings. Loneliness spreads cush wings. Who says you have to work late? Who insists you flirt with posterity? Time races on in a black thunderbird, ashes knocking at the fire door. Who says you need to guard the exit? A burning submarine fingering the sea. Fun melts away as you polish light, chasing the hounds of fame. Razor-thin euphoria is a wake-up call. The party is here, inside these cells. Around. Here I need to give a shout out to my friend John Mendelson, the artist. He has a show up, I think it's still up at David Richards Gallery. And he asked me to write a poem. And I was glad to oblige based on his beautiful works. A round. I was a flower girl in the drum palace, the moon my fickle parasol. My gaze could drown tears. The basket weaver still dreams of me. The authors of paradise still hide their longings inside my fan. Pansies glister in twilight's drizzle. Violet, aubergine, hopelessly blue. Towers disappear in time and mist. Loyalty, compassion, conviction. Life forms around a clear center. I've come to see the lost and missing. Ask me. The wolf moon goes down like butter on our pancakes made with bean flour. Wind axes white blazes on the black, brackish Hudson. Daily errands arise, transcribing the diary of Minerva's owl, adding scarred sparks to fire's engine, zeroing in on water's flying roots. This is where I find you, half hidden in the bulrushes, naked and alone. Dirty silence pushes us together, combing honey from our unity as we inherit a new birth in every breath. I know a keeper when one comes along. Miracles are makeable if you ask me. So, guess what? 2 more. Sweepstake. Garlic paper flakes off like dried seconds, impatient for me to put words on them. I whirl through February, a dizzy twister. Not every day is a holiday. You don't say. A genie rises from the bowl, smoke signals, coffee holds out a brown mitten. We grind the candlelight, smelting ardor. An aqua tug bullies its cargo upstream. Plenty to take care of here, plenty to share. Trains leave every hour, but we stay. Glinting wires hint at the unseen guides that keep our act gliding on air. The river slips from steel into teal satin. Dusk's push broom comes, sweeping us on. Peter the Great. A few clouds in the south proceed apace. My days are made of such lost parades. Helen Hooker plays a madrigal on QXR. Red coxcombs spurt wrinkled flame. Homing geese seek the horizon's navel. Sunset flares a halo behind your hair. Life is swell, and you are a lucky charmer. The sugar-frosted snow moon beams. Wow, man, it jumped again. I'm sorry. Under your spell, on top of der Welt, submersed in the champagne of your wake, your lips touch mine, softly idling like a getaway car, lightning on your breath. This is what I live for, to be here, inside, the glow only majesty can bequeath. Thank you very much.
Bravo, bravo. Getaway car idling under the wolf moon. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's when you read, sometimes it makes me feel like I'm so glad I have an imagination. It makes me appreciate that, and for that reason I appreciate you, Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Cyphers Wright.
Thank you
very much for a beautiful reading. And now we're going to turn our attention. I want to introduce Vít Bakaitis. Now, many years ago, in fact, I was a travel writer, and I found myself in Lithuania at exactly the time when they had separated from the Soviet Union. And I guess maybe it was about 6 weeks after that, and it was cold. And Gorbachev, he got angry one day and he cut off the oil to Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia. And those are the Baltic republics. Now, at the time, it was always, I went to a lot of places as a travel writer, but when you went to places that were in the news at that moment, it was always more interesting. And this was fascinating. You think about Lithuania had a fascination all its own. And it was like the last country in Europe, I was told by the guide, to accept Christianity as an official religion, for instance. So paganism was still kind of retreating a little bit. And the statues of Jesus were carved out of wood, and they were different than other statues of Jesus. It wasn't the crucifixion thing, but you would often see Jesus, for instance, holding his head like this, like, oh, what did they do now? And the devil was often portrayed as kind of a fool, being tricked by cunning little people. And you know what? That kind of makes sense to me. And so I'm very excited to introduce Vít Bakaitis from Lithuania, and who has translated many Lithuanian poets in a book called Breathing Free. And he is the translator and the selector and the editor. And luckily for us, all these shitty things happen all over the world. We get the greatest people from it. And we got, because they didn't need him anymore in Lithuania, we got Vít Bakaitis. And I want you all to welcome him as he reads his poetry tonight. Thank you.
Well, thank you, James. And where did you get that? But that's another story. So the first poem has, all right, All As If by Another Light. For mere millennia, we've had the centuries unfold, lost in space, whether we know it not giving up, though hope still extends far with a universal aim, overlooking any gain from a closer inspection. So it's all been said, though you haven't heard the last of it, and yet you are all that there is. Go and we will where it's too late for language. So before what it was, watch it waken and walk. Sol invicta, what the Romans once said. You can't beat the sun now that we got the daylight beat out of us. Brecht broke the rule, but did he stay in character? Don't say tomorrow, it may never come. Why think of sorrow when you're having fun? A litterature within an advisory capacity, where I found you a figment, even in letting become a fragment of over-commencing incertitude, where I've been and why and who's gonna stop me. Believe me, and there it was, a radical takeoff into a field of resistance that only the French ever saw, a pusillanimous ponderance that the French ever beleaguered, as the saying goes, beleaguered by the arithmetics and ferments of resistance. Right now, you are all there is. If at all, where the word leads is no guidance. We have been there before, if at all, over again beyond doubt, whether the ice will melt with the corpses snug in the harbor. What you were spared could not have happened. The voice of the dead was a cutting wind. Each letter shakes on its stem, while the root has a climber. They stood in a small stand of woods like the trees, with suitcases packed, and were any still alive we'd remember. And was it just that time went by, or maybe death itself went with it? I wanted to clear my mind of everything, but the mind played this trick, if I could only remember. Votive. No mountain has stood as I have stood in line for the cashier at the corner market, next to the tubs cramped with flowers on ice. While birds are scarce this January, their agility outpacing each shadow, only a jet-lagged pair of sparrows keeps pondering the pavement. That yesterday maybe cleared a place for us here, though it may have been before then the days began to lag. Long before a cold truth can assert itself past the dawn when everything's woven into a vaguely significant distance, small incentive, happenstance. There are some poems here I won't have time to read, so I'm flipping the pages. The good you say. Colors faded with assorted voices. That was when I first closed my eyes, and the blur was astonishing. The next thing that happened before it had ever been, the first news the war had ended, and not been there either. That the sun, the moon, the stars kept me spellbound, and that had been the one wish, only to tear the letter with the invitation open with my teeth. New ponds the fish no longer swim in, while coins devalue as they sink in the brine. Slow motion spin with the sun no longer losing its sheen. Late poem before it gets lost. It was good to see you as you are, a natural beauty even for the gray in your hair. Your nose snub, your rustic complexion, your laughter, fresh air. It was good to see you as I should have known you before long, as too good to last, too strong. It was good to see you, though you aren't here, and I can't hope to retrieve you. It was so good to see you, but I'm not saying goodbye. With Blake in London. Bad poems more than enough to drown in too soon. Death's refrain, wind huff. I will make this newspaper mine, lead-lined windows and all kinds of crud to fit and fill to the sky-high margins. It could be that, according to Blake, to start with a fart as inarticulate oblivion. All as if by another light. For mere millennia, we've had the centuries unfold, lost in space, whether we know it, not giving us hope, though hope still extending far with universal aim, overlooking any gain from a closer inspection. From Prussia to the Russian lands, efficient heroes lead the fight. So it's all been said, though you haven't heard the half of it for now, and yet you are all there is. Go and we will where it's too late for language. So before what it was, watch it waken and walk. Sol invicta, what the Romans once said. You can't beat the sun now that we got the daylights beat out of us. Oh, the flutter of pages, like wingless doves. If at all, where the word leads is no guidance, we have been there before, if at all, over again, beyond doubt whether the ice will melt with the corpses snug in the harbor. What you was spared could not have happened. The voice of the dead was a cutting wind. Earth, each letter shakes on its stem, while the root has a climber. They stand in the small stand of woods like the trees, with suitcases packed and nowhere to go, and were any still alive, so we'd remember. While sitting on the hilltop, from the top of a stump, I kept watching the stars. With darkness, a cold wind kicked straight in my eyes that carried the somber pine grove singing down to all sleeping humankind. And was it just that time went by, or maybe death itself went with it, with everything I wanted to clear my mind of, but the mind played this trick, if I could only remember. How absence commences. There was the moment he wanted to preserve the look she had before both turned away. But the last thing he saw on rounding the corner was the guy she was with spit on the sidewalk. Still, his own mind could track back to the times he'd seen her before that he could still remember. Most of those times she'd be walking toward him instead of away. And he looked long, still does, and now that she's gone, can still see her, but all too distant, and it's not the same. It's been real, was the last thing she said. And now the absence begins, all he could stammer. It was late in the day, the sun directly behind him, and even after he'd gone, the many blocks it took for her image to retreat and fade, his feet kept trying to pin down a full shadow at each step. The power. The power is not an exacting language, but a gasp that it holds to no clue, before a just coasting summons brings on exception to every set rule. My verbs don't have the dignity to make a move. My nerves don't dare show or make jokes. Even after the laughs, I can't join in. Words are almost about and can't hold to that essential. A push for a pulse from here to basic, a blind spot thrust, the moment's trepidation quivering before it goes, for all you know, to show you free of a breath's lease. High as the sky is the place I remember. The wild wave struck before we could rally against it. So even losing count of the few of us there, all before we could think to prepare, we might possibly be survivors, since we had our minds set and not a moment to hang on to. What could we care to welcome? The house no longer standing, a mud hole wipe out, though the sky helps widen the highway, striving for air. After permitted, I have to rehearse this stuff. After Parmenides, this is in consequence of some version of Parmenides I read by Chuck Stein. My head wasn't spinning when I started, darn stubborn mule, but I saw the wheels had a light, the color in bands reeling backwards, some entrancing circles to overwhelm my longing, straining to stay on track, so that I wished I knew where I was heading. A blinding resplendence grinding in my ears, swells arousing fresh allure. The young girls just dropped their filtering veils like a glowing ember in winter, as if daylight isn't the same sure darkness can yield. I'm framed inside behind mighty doors. The terms being dealt favor could swing either way, and so melt the keys to seal off a whole new lifeline before its history opens to reveal a dream, young as the storming moment, a voice beyond the reach of years. By the loose ribbon her hair makes, whoever might dare to claim her will need to redeem her. Though she said that, and it seemed to be true, the waiting was more than a full measure of home. Trying to calculate how much time I have left here. And I think this will probably be the last of it. For the musique. To begin in the simplest way, as if I had something to say, or to find the plain word I may have overheard. Ottilia, my Ottilia, you are the muse. Every sound I hear has midnight stars, daylight bright, not to disperse. Your smile rings a cheer, will not disappear. So let it be her shoulder or twirl of a hip in the laminate cloud above the skyline I've seen from the beach at Nice, and leave imagining so understated it's been expressed, remedial to last the human day en masse, way before she got there. All wanderings since childhood may claim only a stopover, short on sleep, sort of where it only leads to catch up. Even in sleep, why are things familiar names never heard of here, secure in a dream before it's over, under the heavy pillow of sleep? You made me love you, I am not the same. More than you think, less than I know. Let the gods puzzle over what makes it so. Less than you think, more than I know. Days pile up, only to shrink for the moment, so I can't think. And I think I'll end there. Thank you.
Thank you. Trying to pin down shadows can be a rough business. But I want to thank you so much for pinning down a few shadows for all of us tonight. The next reading we're going to have is going to be on April 6th. The readers, as of now, are still undetermined, but we'll let you know when they do. We'll send out invitations and whatnot. I want to thank both of these readers tonight. It was, you know, we keep getting these great readings. I don't know what to say. It's just been a lot of fun, and I hope we get to see them again real soon. So everybody come check us out again on April 6th. Laurel and Hardy and the boys will be singing Way Out West again. Commence to dancing, and we'll all commence to dancing. And April 6th, spring's going to be back pretty soon. March 19th is March 21st, first day of spring. So get your Chaucer ready, read the preamble when the spring breaks, and we'll see you on April 6th. Have a great night. Commence to dancing.